All right, here we are in the Grand Canyon Whitewater office. Mikah is back from his trip. There he is. Just to give you a quick tour of the office, here's our stuff. We got all the swag here. And let me introduce you to Sarah.
Hi.
I talked with her on the phone many times. So yeah, Mikah is back. We're going to talk with him about the trip. And so, how was your river trip?
Well, for the one-liner, the quote, I was in the Grand Canyon 5 years ago, hiked down to Supai in the Havasu Falls, and made it as far down as Beaver Creek. So I still had 3.5 miles to go and never made it to the Colorado River.
Yeah.
So this was great because I finally made it to the Colorado River. And I think the biggest comparison was that was really the first trip for me that I experienced the national parks on like a really dive-in basis, and it's really what hooked me.
Sure.
And if this was my first experience, it would have done the same. You know, there were so many comparisons between that trip and this trip in the experiences I had, in the ability to disconnect, to truly disconnect, even if you want to be on your phone, there's no way. And so just thinking of the families that have family time in a way that is impossible outside of the Grand Canyon, the experiences that you do, are super family friendly for anyone of any age. And it was just, those things combined, amazing experiences and this sense of taking you out of reality, I think was the biggest comparison to that last trip. And now once again, the Grand Canyon, in a different sense on the Colorado River, has proven to me that it can continue to take you out of reality, suspend you in something special, and then deliver you back to civilization.
Back to yeah. I mean, what was it like? You're on day 2. I mean, were you trying to check your phone? And that's whenever I go on river trips, I always have that moment of like, oh yeah, I just can't do this anymore.
Well, I did try it. I tried it once, and yeah, after like the first day, I tried it once. It just, you have those moments where you're like, what's happening in the real world? I was worried about my van's solar system, if it was melting or not. And so it's like, but then really quickly you're like, there's no way to reach out. There's no physical way. You have to turn that off and just focus on what's in front of you. So in our ever-connected world, it was a reminder of how special this park is compared to even the other 179 I've been to so far, that you still have cell phone access. Just how special it is, yeah.
Yeah. And the river trip, the rapids, side hikes, like what was your favorite? What was it all about?
I think the Little Colorado was probably my favorite, which if you look over my shoulder and see that long train of people, we only did a train of like 5 or 6.
Some photos here.
But it was just so great because you're in the Colorado, which we got really lucky. It wasn't muddy at all. It was green when we started. It was, the worst color it was like dark gray in the shade. And so then you come to Little Colorado, and it's this like talc blue, and it's just such a different color, and you see the physical change from the Colorado to that, and then it's warmer, so you get to go float down it, and it's like all these adults are suddenly at like a natural water park, and everyone's laughing and floating down. We're wearing our life vests as giant diapers, so we all look a fool. But everybody's just giggling. It's that feeling reminded me a lot of when you're on a roller coaster, in that you look around you on roller coasters and everyone's laughing. Like they just can't help but. It's a physical response you can't help but do. The same thing happened on the rafts. Even if you get impaled with a bunch of water, like you'd start smiling and laughing afterwards. Or if you're in the back, you'd see the people in the front, and they would get nailed, and you'd be laughing. And then a side wave would hit you, and they'd laugh at you. And it was just like, it was a lot like a natural amusement park, in that you were having these childlike, involuntary laughter and smile moments, like you would have on a man-made roller coaster.
For sure.
So. And
then what about, do you remember any big rapids that you went through? Soap Creek is probably your first big rapid that you come to. And then what's after Soap, Sarah?
I don't remember.
Badger? One with a pretty big drop. Yeah.
We started out day 1 in the very back. Just coincidence. We just get on the boat. We got on the boat. Had no idea that was like the dry spot.
Yeah.
And
Badger's first,
Andy didn't really want to go up front much, but then somehow Andy ended up in front for the first 10 we went on, which was Hermit Falls.
Yeah.
And he loved it so much that after that he was like, I'll go in the front, I'll be in the front. And so I had to kind of finagle my way to be in the front on Lava Falls.
Yeah.
Which is like
so
the biggest one.
What was lava like?
It was great. I got an awesome video. I had the GoPro strapped to my chest. And we had 3 big waves. The first one was like enough to get you wet. You're like, okay. The second one like hits you like a brick wall. And it was just, I was cinched up to this with sunglasses. And I felt all the water like pour down my rain jacket. And, but even then, as soon as you got through it, everybody was woo! And like, then came another one and everybody got impaled. And you looked in the back and even the people in the back, this one woman was like on her face, not on her face, but had fallen forward, but was laughing and smiling, and like everybody just got nailed. But then the first boat that went through was there cheering you on, and it was a really great sense of community. Everybody was supportive, sit where you feel comfortable, but pretty much everybody eventually felt comfortable to go to the front for some rapids. So.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the most surprising thing to you about the trip?
Honestly, how cold the water was. I had no idea that the Colorado River was that cold, which at first you were like, why?
Yeah.
But then by the end, you were so hot sometimes that you would just climb in the river. I got this one awesome video of, I could only get half of our group to do it, but we are all standing about waist high in the water. Because it's like 2 o'clock, we're all melting. And on the count of 3, we all lean back and fall in.
Nice.
And once again, it's like this freezing water, but you get up and everyone's smiling and laughing because they're happy to be cool.
Yeah.
So even like the negative of the cold water was great. Yeah, it was a bonding thing. And some people, we were joking about, some people would bathe every day, and we were going through who bathed every day. And there was this one guy, and I was like, well, he basically lives in the water. Because, like, he can't throw his shirt off and just, like, hang out in the water. And we're like, how is he not freezing? But the food was great, too. Like, you would
Favorite
think...
meal?
That's tough.
Lasagna.
Not lasagna. It was like the... Honestly, it was the bacon in the morning. I've never had bacon that thick. I've never had it that thick. It was like, I don't know where you found it, this bacon. Maybe you sheared a pig like, somewhere near Marble Canyon. Because it was the huge
Marble
and
Canyon
thick.
pigs.
Yeah. And none of it was crispy or burnt. The breakfasts were amazing. That's tough. What was my favorite? Let's see. First, the food was amazing. So night number 1, we had what? We had salmon, smoked salmon, night number 1. Number 2 was chicken, grilled chicken.
You're eating like salmon and cheesecake.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, every meal
The
has
desserts.
like 2 or 3 side dishes and dessert. Like,
Did the guides do any like
stuffed.
Dutch oven,
Yes.
like cakes or brownies and
They
stuff?
did that. Somebody joked about I thought I'd lose weight on this trip. I probably gained weight because it's just the food is so good.
That's true though.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they do with like the stuff that they pack out. And so what we had: salmon, chicken, pork chops, chicken fajitas, steak, lasagna, and I'm missing one thing.
Oh, what's on that trip?
What was I missing? It was all like high. It was like Texas Roadhouse stuff,
Yeah.
No, there was no night that you were like, sandwiches for dinner.
Yeah.
And breakfast too was like French toast, pancakes.
And it's all made down there
sausage,
too. I mean, that's like me when the very first road trip that I went on. I thought that it was lasagna night was going to be stovetop, or like Stouffer's lasagna in the pans, and you just heat it up. But like
handmade.
they're making it from scratch, and that's like really whole food.
Well, and like our second to last day at lunch, we had grapes. I'm like, they kept the avocado and grapes that well, that long. Like,
Yeah.
And then the snack bin too. Like we pulled it open, it was like Andy's favorite candy is Snickers, and there was a bag of Snickers.
Full-size Snicker
and I was
bars.
like, don't let them sit there, it'll be gone in a day. And there's still actually like 5 Snickers left somehow. I can't believe you didn't take. Maybe you took them. I don't know. Yeah. But it was just great too, because you've got this great snack thing. Everyone's on vacation. One of the things Brock, our guide, said right away was, open up a snack bar. You guys are on vacation, and so like when moments were slow on the river, people would open up snack bin, everybody say, "Oh, I want this, I want that." You know,
Red
people passing
vines.
around candy.
No one would ask for any food at all.
Yes,
and
they
out
would.
of nowhere,
Yeah.
I would be like, I'm hungry. Who does snack bin? And
Well-
once one person sees that there's a candy bar out, everybody
right.
wants it.
I mean, I'm a
You
joy.
were doing a service.
I'm a joy
Yeah.
instigator. You know, I bring joy to people when they're in dark moments. And even though this was a light moment, I thought I could still use a little more joy. So I brought, you know, it's in there. We
Red
paid
vines
for it,
for
might as well
everyone.
Use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Micah, before this trip, this was a trip that you were really looking forward to.
Mhm.
Did it meet your expectations? How did it compare to kind of your expectations for the trip?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really have any expectations, and I'm finding that tends to make for a better experience. We were actually talking about this. One of the other passengers said, "What are the other river trips in America?" Because I had no expectations of this. I had no knowledge. I hadn't read a blog about it. I hadn't seen a video. I had just heard word of mouth. The raft the Grand Canyon, raft Colorado to the Grand Canyon is what you do. It's like one of the river trips in America. And so with really just that, you know, I went on it, and I asked some of the river guides what are some of the other trips, and they mentioned some, and most of them aren't in the National Park Service. So it's knowing what I know about the Park Service and the way that they create wilderness areas, that the views are safe, you know, the whole experience is actually a lot more raw and wild than a lot of other rivers might be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect the side rivers, how clean and blue those were. I didn't expect how good our food would be. I didn't expect the sense of, I don't want to say isolation, but the sense of containment, like a good containment in that, like, you'd look up at the canyon walls and you'd know that there's like 2 or 3 layers of walls to the rim, and then from the rim it's, you know, a few hundred miles to civilization. And just this idea, once again, of like, I'm in a safe space to enjoy the wilderness. I'm so far physically from the real world that I couldn't even access it if I wanted to. But still feeling safe because you're on these great boats with guides who know what they're doing. Our guide Brock, this was his 200th trip, so if you were worried about getting through the water, like, he was obviously, he knew what he was doing. And so just this safe space, and I, even with the other 178 parks I've been to, they're still so much part of the real world. They're so close to the restaurants. They're so close to people on their phones and families with huge RVs, and that I'm learning that the Grand Canyon is one of the few rare places in the entire National Park Service, over 400 places, to still have that safe wilderness space.
That solitude.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It really helps give you perspective, too, and helps you kind of feel your place in the world when you're in this gigantic, incredible, amazing place, and helps you see your role in the world, I think, in a different way sometimes.
Well, and one of our guides, Troy, was a great geologist, and so he would go through layer by layer and say, this one was this many 150 million years ago, and this one was a billion, we think, but it's, you know, it's an unconformity, so blah, blah, blah. And like, you see all the layers in the Grand Canyon, too, from down below. And, you know, at one point we passed the South Rim Visitor Center, the watchtower, and I said, think of the thousands of people up there who are looking down saying, I wonder if there's a boat down there. Or, you know, just the views and the geology that we got to see and the way the rocks changed every day and what that meant geologically and what that meant through the history of time and what that meant for our understanding of human history as we know it. You know, looking up at the rim, you realize how much that those visitors miss. And I think one of our guides, Grant, said that 4 million people visit the Grand Canyon annually. 90% of those don't go beyond the rim, and only 10% of those do a river trip. So even though that's 25,000 people a year, you kind of felt like you were a part of an elite group to get to, not elite, but a special group to get to experience this.
And that's another thing, too, that when I go on river trips, I'm always surprised that, there 20,000 or 25,000 people go down, but you go to those beaches and there's not a speck of trash or a can or anything. I mean, it's super, super clean. I mean, was that a big part of what Rock and Troy talked about is kind of that leave no trace. And
Well,
what was that like?
Totally, and I think you feel that because you realize very quickly how easily you could trash this place. And then you think of all the people that went through, and it's like, we had a tuna salad one day for lunch, and a piece of my celery fell out, and I picked it up and threw it in the trash because I was like, I don't want to ruin. If all of us let a stem of celery go day after day after day, this sandy beach wouldn't exist, or it'd be covered in bugs, or whatever, And so you realize, A, the tremendous amount of work that's gone into keeping this place a wilderness, and B, that you want to provide that for someone else. And so, and just the way that it's still active, our river guide would tell us about campsites, and we would try to guess which campsite we were going to go to that night. And then you'd get to some, and our guide would be like, oh yeah, giant, rainstorm came through last week, and that campsite doesn't exist right now, but maybe at the end of the summer enough sediment will build up, it'll be back. And you're like, that's crazy that they know this and that they're that adaptable. And yeah, it was just, it's mind-blowing on so many ways that I probably won't realize until a week from now.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Little Colorado was one of your faves. I mean, what's your, what do you think 10 years from now, what's going to be kind of your one moment that you're going to look back on? And what was your perfect moment of the trip? Was it going through rapids, or the excitement after lava falls, or what do you think?
I would have to say Lava Falls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cliche, but I got to be on the front for that, and you could feel it on the boat. Like everybody was checking their straps more than usual, just because it had been hyped up, and it had, this is the biggest one. Be ready, blah blah blah. And I was in the front, and it was like, watch out for the board that might bounce up. And so it was just this. You've been through so many rapids that at some point you were like, okay, another rapid, and like this one was not that they weren't interesting, but it was like you knew this one was big and special, and this was like the moment. And so it was like this nervous energy ahead of time, and then to go through it and just instantly how everybody was hooting and hollering and cheering each other on afterwards, and it was the last day of our trip.
Yeah.
And everything had built up to that. I would say that moment, probably.
Yeah, that's special, for sure.
What advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about a river trip?
We were actually talking about this. We came up with a list of things we wish we would have packed. I would have packed a third to a half as many clothes.
Really?
I did not, for real candid conversation here, I did not wear a piece of underwear the whole trip.
Yeah.
But it's because you're in your swim trunks the whole time, and then like my casual camp shorts were, had a liner as well. So I didn't wear a pair of socks the whole trip because I was in my, because you're always getting
sandals.
your feet wet.
Yeah.
And so it just makes sense.
Don't pack as much.
Don't pack as much.
Right.
I definitely would have brought a buff or a gaiter, something that provides sun protection, just because you're always putting on a lot of sunscreen.
Yeah. Like a bandana or a sarong, like that sort of,
Or anything, or even like a lot of the women had sarongs that they would dip into the water and then cover their legs with. Yeah, and if I wanted sun protection for my legs without sunscreen, I would have to put on rain pants.
Yeah.
And then you don't get the air underneath. So I would bring some sort of flag or sarong to put over my legs, a buff for my neck. Obviously, I'm a millennial. I might bring headphones, just because some nights when it was hot, I would use my cell phone to listen to a podcast I had downloaded to fall asleep, and I didn't want to keep other people up. What was the other thing? Do I have? Way more lotion.
Yeah.
Way more lotion, because your skin just gets dry.
Yeah.
I'm going to check my phone here to double check the list. I made a reminder list just to for future trips.
For your next Grand Canyon river trip.
Yeah, let's see. Buff, more lotion, headphones. Oh, yeah, I probably would have brought some beer too.
Yeah.
I'm not a big drinker.
I tried to tell you.
I know. I'm not a big drinker, and especially on this road trip when I'm always driving, I'm like, never alcohol because I don't want to risk anything.
Yeah.
And it's so nice because once again, you're given permission to relax.
Oh, let go.
Yeah, you can't go pay your bills. You can't mow the lawn. You can't do all these things, and at least for myself, and I'm guessing many other people, we often feel pressure that we should be doing something more productive. And you really have no choice but to like hang around camp and play cards or talk to people. And pretty much everybody else had brought their favorite alcohol of choice. And it just would have been nice because I'm like, I don't have to drive home. My bed is literally right there. I could actually fall into it if I had to and be fine. So I would have brought some.
Yeah.
Not that people were hammered. Nobody was hammered. Nobody was ever like even close to drunk or tipsy even. But just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What other takeaways from your river trip? I mean, what was your
Well, we were talking about how happy we were that we did the first week of June because, and we know that it's sometimes dependent on the weather, and you might get lucky or not. But if it had been much colder, it would have been a little chilly at some points, and if it had been any hotter, it wouldn't have been as pleasant at night. And so, and we talked about the seasons, and end of June is when it might start to rain, and the monsoons, and I'm sure refreshing rain would be nice every so often, but it was nice to set up camp and not have to set up a tent if you didn't want to. So we felt really great about the time of year.
I just want to add to that the coldest Grand Canyon river trip I ever did was the exact same week.
No.
2 years ago. So
Well, then we
It
just
is
got,
crazy.
We just got
Yeah.
really lucky. That,
It is.
Then ignore everything I just said.
Yeah.
There are plenty of great dates here.
Yeah.
You can get just as lucky as we did.
Yeah.
But I think the weather was only good for Grand Canyon Whitewater.
We have a deal.
I
It's
talked
just
to
for us.
Hatch, and I talked to the one with like the pointy things, and they all told me their weather was horrible.
Yeah.
So I think whatever you worked
we arranged
out,
that for you. You're
whatever
welcome.
worked out with the tribes, and that was great. So thank you.
And then what about sleeping outside? Did you just sleep on the cot under the stars, or what was the?
I have not done a lot of camping in my life, and so I wanted the tent to start out with, and the bats were everywhere at night, which eventually I realized they have.
Micah has a
They're eating
fear
the
of
bugs.
bats.
No.
Micah has a fear
The
of bats.
picture in the book is creepy, and they're holding the wings out, and the thing has no eyes, and its mouth is open. And I was just imagining one like flying into my face, the one
Which
that
is
like
what they try to do. I don't know if you know bats very well, but that
they did it until the
Do not
final
tell me
night.
that.
Until the final night, we made it. But no, I realized I was like, they have echolocation, sonar.
You have not overthought this at all.
Whatever. Yeah, well, they can. I'm like, they would see that I'm big and realize they can't eat me and go to the bug. And they eat the bugs, which keeps less bugs at camp, which we all like. So the bats are fine with me, but it took me a little time, a little courage, and a little hot evening air to muster the strength to sleep. The last 2 nights we did under the stars in the tent. And honestly, it was way cooler because we would take our cots right down by the river, and then you'd get the cool breeze.
That's a good point. Yeah, because a lot of people sleep right by the rocks, and so they stay super hot. Yeah.
And you're closer to the animals if they're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
We also, the moon was so bright, we didn't have to use flashlights.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
It was so bright down there.
Speaking of wildlife, what did you guys see? Did you see any bighorn sheep?
Did see the bighorn sheep, never the males with the big. I wanted to see
You saw the babies.
We saw males, just not with a.
Not with the full.
Not like the
bag.
Rams
yeah.
logo.
We saw one mom with 2 babies though, which was cool.
Wow.
I saw one of the really fat lizards. I can't remember the name.
Chuck Wallach.
Chuckwalla.
It was about
Yeah.
foot long. I had followed the creek down to the main river and missed the turnoff back to the thing, and which explains why I wasn't scared away earlier because nobody walked by. And I saw the grass rustle. Actually, I thought it was like it's a coyote or something big. No, I know there's no alligators, but I thought it was something big. And I turned and I looked, and then I see this thing running away from me and climbing up the rock.
That's a pretty good Chuckwalla, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was just like, who's got a camera? And then I was like, I was like, I saw the thing. Nobody else saw it. It was big. It was real, and it ran, and I was scared, but then I wasn't scared. It was scared of me. And that was cool. Tons of lizards doing the push-ups.
Yeah. Did you see a condor? Did that get asked?
I didn't, but one of our fellow passengers did. He was sitting there and he goes, "That's a big bird." And his wife was like, "That's a condor." Once again, cram the camera, and by then it's gone.
So we've got a question actually from a viewer.
Oh, I like this.
Scott Warren says, what was Micah's favorite camp spot?
Oh.
Great question.
No, we talked about this. We went through it. What was it? It was the one...
Do you need a guidebook to remind?
It was Nankoweap.
We've got our guidebook here.
No, it was Nankoweap.
Nankoweap.
Yeah, it was Nankoweap. Because we pulled in and we climbed off, and Andy and I found this spot right away that was slightly covered by shade. So even though usually
Nice.
our guides were amazing, and then almost all the time they would find a campsite that was about to turn to the shade.
Yeah.
And so this
They
one,
know what
though,
they're
had a
doing.
few trees over it, and the tent fit perfectly underneath it. So we hung all of our stuff on the trees. We were already in the shade. And then the beach was a really great C shape. So everybody who wanted to bathe, had an easy access. The fishers went out. And then there was a huge beach. So all of us were able to sit together in one circle during meal time. All 27 of us plus 4 guides, so 31. There was also a hike. That was the granary hike, where we got to go up, and I got probably my best photo of the river of the whole trip. So definitely Nankoweap. There was one that we went to, and it was funny because it was like a giant sand dune basically, and the sand was still very hot, and so everybody threw their stuff down, and then no one started setting up their stuff, and everyone grabbed their chair and went to the river and just plopped their chair in the river and put their feet in because their feet were hot and waited for the shade to come. And I have this video of everybody waving, and it's just it was just fun, It was a spontaneous group moment where everyone was experiencing the same thing. Everybody knew how to find relief, and once again, you had no choice but to sit there and laugh with the people next to you and talk and just wait, cool down and wait for the sun to go away. And it was just real. It was raw and funny. And relaxing.
And did you guys have much interaction with other trips on the water and seeing them, private trips and other commercial trips? And did you see them in side hikes or anything? Or?
Not really. We got lucky. We were a motorized trip, and so I felt like we were passing a lot of trips, and it was always people would wave. One guy mooned us. I think
that's common.
I'm pretty sure he was an employee for another outfitter.
Not for us.
Yeah, and. But mostly it was everybody was hey, hi, there were only 2 places. One was the Redwall Cave, I think.
Redwall Cavern.
Redwall Cavern. There was another group there for maybe 20% of the time we were in there. Yeah. And then when we did Havasu Creek, we got there just as another crew got there. So there were the 2 groups there, which was fine. There was enough space for everybody to do their thing, and it was almost kind of fun to be like, oh, who's on their trip? Oh, what accents do they have?
Yeah.
Can we do a cameo? One of our guides, Rachel, just popped in.
Rachel Unger just came in the office.
Hello.
You might have seen her on the Ladies Retro Tee model.
Yes.
So Micah just got off a river trip. Micah is going to see all 417 national parks and monuments.
Fantastic.
And he just checked this one off of his list.
Did you say there's a ladies only trip?
No,
Ladies only
t-shirt.
Oh,
We have a t-shirt. Yeah.
we went by one group and it was all women and women guides, women guests, and they just looked like they were having a blast. And I was like, girls' night to the max.
Yeah.
Because they were just loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe there's one doing all girls,
Yeah, I know,
women
that
only
would be
trip
cool.
or something.
Yeah.
I know we've done that with a whole road trip. We had 8 or 9 all-women crew.
Yeah.
One time in the past. Yeah.
That's fun.
Well, I'm sure the women would make the women more comfortable with using the restroom too.
Yeah.
I do not envy. Well, I have sympathy for the women because it was just a little harder to use the restroom for the women, I'd say, than the men. So
It
then,
is harder when there's not a female guide to demonstrate, I think.
although our male guides told some good stories and gave some decent instructions, I would say, for the ladies. And
So-
they were always very kind. You should say that.
Mm-hmm.
Is if the women, at one point the women said, there's nowhere good for us here, and the guides put us all back on the boat, took us somewhere else so that the women,
Nice.
so they were very respectful.
What was camp life like? I mean, you said you don't camp a lot, or maybe not too much before this. So what was it like to just jump into 7 or 8 days of pure camping in the canyon?
Well, it was funny because the first day we got to camp at 3 p.m. and you're thinking, what? You know, like the day doesn't end until 10 or whatever. You know, most people don't set up camp until later, and then very quickly you realize, like, yeah, you get there at 3, you set your stuff up, and then it's 3:30, and then you're exhausted, so you just sit down for a little bit, and then they put out the appetizers, and you eat those, and then dinner comes, and you do that, you play a game of cards, and then it's nighttime. Like, I was like, what are we going to do for 5 hours? And then very quickly we were in bed. So, I mean, we always had great campsites where maybe the biggest problem was a late afternoon wind that would blow some sand, and you just turn around for a few seconds and turn back. But otherwise, you know, you're always close to the water. You always had the sound of the waves at night. I mean, I liked it. It was fun. Andy and I were just 2 of 27 people, of which 80% were one of 3 groups. There was a 5, a 7, and a 10-person group. And so we initially were like, uh-oh, everyone's in big groups. They're not going to want to interact with us. And very quickly, people, you know, come sit with us, come play cards with us. We kind of got adopted by one group and just hung out with them a lot. And so camp life was great. Everybody pitched in. Everybody helped unload and load the boat. There was no bad apple. And I think I made some comment about that, and someone said, yeah, you know, if you're coming on this trip, you really want to. You know, like, you don't invest the time and the money to come here and be someone who doesn't enjoy the outdoors, enjoy the experience, enjoy the camaraderie and the time. So, you know, maybe compared to what you might think of from your school camping trips where some kid doesn't want to be there, everyone really seemed to enjoy it. So.
Yeah. And your guides, talk about your guides.
Oh, they were horrible, and they smelled all the time. No, they were super great. I don't see how they do everything they do, honestly, because they are up before you. They're preparing all the food while we're just like, oh, we're tired. You know, oh, it's sunny today. Yeah, and like they're hooking up the boats, they're driving the boats, they're figuring out the campsites, they're talking to the other guides on the way, they're setting up everything, they're cooking for you. I took one video and I was like, these are our chefs who are also our guides. You know, they cook good food. They're just constantly working. I was so impressed.
And they're decent company. They're all right.
Yeah.
They can tell some stories.
Nice guys, good stories. Usually every night one of them would come around to the group and read a story or tell a story. And always, they would always thank us. At the end of the day, they'd say, thank you for a great day. And we're like, no, you were the driver. Thank you. So very nice, very kind, and very helpful of people with different needs. You know, some people wanted to speed ahead. Great. Some people wanted someone to hike with them the whole way. Awesome. You know, there was one guide who was always the sweeper and was always with the same person and never complained, never, you know, so.
We got another question.
All right.
What was your impression of the Little Colorado River and the confluence, and are you aware of the possible threat of development in the tram that could bring as many as 10,000 people a day there? And how might something like that change a person's experience?
Yeah, did the guides talk about that
They
at all?
did. Actually, it was fitting. So the Little Colorado was one of my favorites. Maybe my favorite side hike. It was my favorite side hike of the whole thing, just because I liked getting to get in the water and float, and everybody was laughing, and it was like amusement park day, water park day in nature. It was interesting because I saw the proposed development in the book ahead of time and thought, well, it's probably a good thing. You know, it'll bring more people to be able to experience the park. Certainly, I'm very aware of the economic hardships that many Native Americans deal with, and I thought, well, anything that allows them to use the resources that they've been given to help create a sustainable economy, awesome. And then we got there and had the experience, and I felt really different because I thought, you know, if you have this huge tram, then now you have however many thousand people every day who maybe don't care about stewardship of the earth and will throw their can or their celery stick and not pick it up. And now suddenly you've got this gorgeous blue water, which might not be as much. And so, I don't know, it was tough because at the same time that I enjoyed this moment, it was my favorite side hike of the whole trip, I realized too that I'm very privileged and that I got to experience it, and there might be people who could pay $20 for a tram, and then they would get to experience this, but couldn't afford a whole rafting trip.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know. I was torn. And I don't have a yes or no answer for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people who make way more money than me who make those decisions who will have to weigh those things more heavily than I do. And I think it's something that all of us who enjoy nature constantly weigh is how do we make it as accessible as possible while preserving it as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So if they feel they can do that, then it's their land, it's their right, it's their prerogative. If they don't, then hopefully they, you know, ultimately hopefully there's a way that the people who are there can enjoy it, and especially the people who hold it as a sacred religious site don't have that messed with, because we need to remember that in America we have freedom of religion, and that's not just the dominant religion. So these people and their faith and their sacred sites need to be respected, I would say, utmost importance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then just comparing Grand Canyon National Park to the other parks, the other 100 or so parks that you visited, I mean, did you feel like there was a big difference in that sort of stewardship and protecting? And I mean, what was Grand Canyon like compared to some of the other ones that you've been? Did it stand out at all, or was it kind of part of this whole national park that's really for the people? And,
It's your favorite.
yeah.
I mean, it's so different because just of the accessibility, the part that we were at, and I'm realizing that I'm not speaking about the South Rim right now. To get there, you had to really want to be there. And so you couldn't just have seen the sign, pulled over, you know, with your Hummer and open the door and your trash fell out. Not that people do this, but it's, you know, it's not a Las Vegas experience. And there are some parks that do sort of feel like zoos. There are so many people coming in. They're so popular. There's cars everywhere. There's screaming babies. There's whatever. So in that sense, there was none of that where I was in the Grand Canyon. You know, it was. There have been parks that I've been like, I want to get out of the visitor center now, or I need to get off this hike because there's people everywhere and they don't seem to know what they're doing or care. And there was no experiences like that on the river. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, as I mentioned at the beginning, I think it provides one of the most authentic wilderness experiences that I've come across yet, almost halfway through my journey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and like you said too, you have to work hard to get there, and I think that's part of the experience, and that's part of what makes it so rewarding. Like, you are there with like-minded people. You're there with people who have made this a priority, who this is important to them, and that to me really adds to the experience. Is just knowing that everybody here worked really hard to get here.
And everybody was super respectful. You know, there was nobody with an iPad that was standing right in your photo. There were, you know, people would be like, "Oh, am I in your photo? Can I move for you, or can I take your photo for you?" And so, everyone you're interacting with gets it.
Right.
Yeah. So if you want to be around like-minded people, that's another bonus too.
Mm-hmm. So another question from Arliss.
Okay.
She says, "My trip is 1 month away. What should I not forget?"
Hand lotion, or hand lotion / feet lotion. Your feet will actually get really dry. Some sort of bandana or buff to protect. I would say to protect you. Anything that can protect you from the sun without having to lather on sunscreen. A wide brim hat with a hook underneath because the wind will blow. So the hat, the lotion, something to do at camp. Either a game, cards, or a book. Something if you like to be alone, something to do. Because you will have downtime. And so something to do.
And beer.
Yeah. Beer. I mean, if you partake, even if you don't think you'll drink it, bring it because you can give it to somebody and make friends that way.
Yeah.
So. Oh yeah, this book right
the
here.
Book.
I will say I was a skeptic at first, and I was like, "This is just another thing that they want you to buy, so they make money."
Because we're such hard pushers.
Yeah.
Right. Because.
In those emails.
I know, because it was always like, buy the book, and I'm like, book. Because I go to a lot of hikes, and they're like, buy this trail guide for $5, and then I take it, and I'm like, all the information was on the trail. But this is great, because it was waterproof.
Yeah.
And I love maps. Andy at one point was like, "This book is perfect for you," because I love
Can't really
maps,
show people
and
what
I
it
love
looks
looking
like.
at maps and figuring out which way is north and how far this way, and what if we did this? Maybe we'll camp at this site, and you can see that like this has every mile of the river, and so I would often be the nerd who would be like, "Okay, now that's." Oh, we're coming up on this rapid. Get ready. It's a 7. And half the people had these books and often would be looking at them, or you'd pass them around so everyone could look. And it just gives you a different perspective, a bird's eye perspective when you're down in the canyon.
Well, and a lot of people use them as a journal too, or as a log. They'll,
I circled my campsites.
Right,
a lot of
exactly.
people
So you
did
know where you
that.
stayed, and the side hikes you did and stuff.
Yes. Also, don't forget gratuities for your guides, either a check or cash. The check would be easy, I guess, because you wouldn't have to worry about how much you want to give. But in our cashless society, if you want to do cash, bring cash. And then rain pants and rain jacket. No joke. Day number 1 was hot.
Thank you.
And I was like, why do we need this? They told us like 8 times to bring this. I'm like, we clearly didn't use it today. It's clearly nice and hot. This is dumb. And the next day was when it drizzled and it was so cold. Or you'd hit the big rapid and you were like, yes, I'm so glad I have these rain pants.
Even when it's 120 degrees, you should bring rain pants.
Even it is, because if you're in the front, if you're in the front, any moment you could get a splash of really cold water, and depending on how much you enjoy or don't enjoy that, like, yes, even if it's 120 degrees, rain pants and rain jacket, like, I don't think you have to get the $200 pair, but something that keeps the water that splashes on you from soaking into your stuff, because you'll want it, especially if you're in the front of big rapids. You'll want it.
How'd you do with your shoes? Did you wear those most of the time?
Oh yeah, these were great. I did get a sunburn. If I took them off, you'd see little lines
Yeah,
here.
that's the zebra stripes. That's a good badge of honor.
But the river shoes were great. I did keep flip-flops at camp at night, which was nice because sometimes the sand was hot, and it'd just be nice to get out of these. But honestly, I brought dry hiking shoes. I never once used them because these were sturdy enough. I know there's some river shoes that have no side support at all. They're just kind of mesh. But these were sturdy enough that I was able to do every hike. And there's some no-name knockoff brands, so nobody's... Yeah. I'm not endorsing any certain one, but...
Make sure they're broken in, too.
Yeah, make sure they're broken in. But I did all the hikes with these, and honestly, none of the hikes were so hard that you couldn't do it with just your river shoes. And then it was great, because whenever there was a stream, you would just walk right in it. And you were never worried about, like, oh, my shoes are dirty, or no crusty socks. So the river shoes were great. Arliss, I would bring a sarong or a flag that you can put over your legs or your face or whatever whenever you want some sun protection.
Yeah.
I think that was it. The lotion, the beard, sun protection, the hat. Sunglasses are pretty obvious, I would say, and the chums. Buy chums.
And I usually tell people to bring a second pair of sunglasses, like a backup,
I had one.
because Sarah can tell many stories about losing a sandal on the first day of a river trip and losing glasses, and so it's always good to have extra hat.
Well, and this is cheesy, but my sunglasses are polarized, and I would notice the difference. It really cut down the reflection, and so you would get some really cool colors and views through your sunglasses that you wouldn't get with the naked eye.
So that's a good question too. What about cameras? So what cameras did you bring, and did you have enough batteries and memory, and how did that work, and how did charging work, and all that sort of...
So I had a GoPro and a DSLR. If I was to do it again, I would do the same, except I would bring like my old point and shoot. Something that I could keep with me on the raft, because you get a lot of amazing views, and then you're like, oh, let me get into my dry bag, and then the view's gone. So either a camera or an ability to put it high in my dry bag and a willingness to get it, or an older camera that you put in a Ziploc bag that if it gets wet, it won't be the end of your life. Because you get so many great views of the canyon. As I told someone, I feel like every minute I saw a view that had just that structure existed, that would be a national monument. And then you have thousands of those. So there's so many good pictures, like opening shots to King Kong movie, mountains that are canyon walls, but they look that epic. And so, the GoPros get great. A lot of people had GoPros.
You really waterproof cameras too. You
Yeah.
just have to have an old one in a bag.
Sorry, yeah, a waterproof camera.
Yeah, like a point and shoot waterproof camera.
I would say that over a DSLR because honestly, most of the stuff we do, you don't need super high quality. If you want to do night sky photography, I would bring a tripod. You know, like long exposure stuff, but otherwise, just a waterproof camera.
Yeah.
And did you bring enough batteries? Were you able to recharge? How did all that go?
I did. I actually had a little solar panel that I brought with me that I did use a lot to keep my stuff because the GoPros tend to suck battery, and my GoPro you can watch on your cell phone what you took, which I took so much video because it was all so awesome that I actually had to delete the worst ones. So I was glad I could look at those at night and free up space. But they have a battery system in the raft, which basically the whole group, everyone but me, used. And since I had my solar charger, I didn't want to take the energy that other people would want. But everybody would charge all their stuff no problem on those systems. Definitely come with all your batteries full, because there were some people who went through like 4 or 5. And I heard people say, "I'm glad we brought the extra battery." So can never have enough power for those, because you're going to be taking so many pictures and video that you'll want it. So good point.
Memory cards.
Oh yeah, don't forget your memory cards. Somebody on our trip forgot his memory card and had to alternate their memory card with someone else's.
Oh no!
Would say, "I want to take a picture. Give me that." And you have to get it out. So double check. Make sure you have. Hypothetically, if anyone in this
Just
room
if that ever happened.
would ever go again,
On a river trip.
Wasn't me.
triple
Yeah,
check.
I can
Make
tell.
sure you have your memory card.
Yeah. What about question, Rachel? Do you have any questions?
Oh. I don't know. I just walked into this.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's good. That means that you come with a fresh mind.
You said that LCR was your favorite already, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about like a? Let me think. Let me think.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. What was the hardest thing to get used to? Like when we have
Great
customers and they
question.
come in all different camping abilities or age abilities, hiking abilities. Like what was the hardest thing for you to get comfortable with that was out of your normal realm? Or maybe not you, but someone you witnessed in the group. Like, oh, this was kind of a difficult thing for the first night, but then they were able to.
I would think sleeping under the stars would be hard, just because we're so used to being protected from everything. But like, I was the biggest wimp with that. Everybody else, night number 1, they were like, "You can sleep under the stars if you want," and everybody was like, "Oh yeah," like the old lady would be like, "Oh great," and so
Was there a lot of tent usage on your trip?
no, maybe only like 2 or 3 tents each night. I don't know. It's different than most places because usually when you hike, your legs aren't as exposed. Your shorts are hanging down. And this is like the way you're sitting, it's like sun and sun and sun. And so just always having to be aware of, it's been 2 hours, I need to reapply sunscreen. And you get hot so you feel it, but the sunscreen thing more than anything, I would say, because it's not like you go into your car or your visitor center or something or under a tree to escape it. You are exposed. And so definitely, I would have brought twice as much sunscreen probably. I wore my rain pants every so often just to save on the sunscreen. So that was one thing I had to get used to. Was more sunscreen than usual.
Was it a problem always feeling? I guess I don't feel dirty down there, but you keep putting on sunscreen, you keep getting splashed by water, you keep reapplying. How was your bathing down there? Did you mind being out in the elements, like soaking on sunscreen, getting hit with dirt?
Yeah, I mean, I usually just buy the off-brand stuff of everything, and I have some sunscreen that just makes me feel gross. And so I invested in like some nicer stuff that specifically was like light and dry, non-greasy feeling. It could be BS, it could be a placebo, I don't know. But I never felt gross. And there were people who bathed every night. I did like little showers with soap.
Tell a little bit about the bathing experience. Like if you bathe every night, that means you're in the river every night.
Yeah,
Right?
which honestly, at first I wasn't doing that. I made it to like night number 4 without doing a full-on submersion in the water. And then finally, like, you're just so hot at the end of the day, and not gross. Yeah, you just feel a little gross between the sunscreen and the sweat and everything. Like, it feels nice to go underwater. And you're like, well, if I'm going to go underwater, I might as well take the shampoo. And, there's enough biodegradable or Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo is what I used. that you don't feel guilty. And the guides explain to you the river has so much water, like your pee and your shampoo don't matter. And so you didn't feel guilty about going and bathing. And honestly, it felt great to like get your camp set up, then go and bathe, and come back, put on a clean shirt and clean like your camp clothes, and you just felt clean. You know that you weren't the smelly kid, and
You thought you weren't the smelly kid.
but you thought you weren't the smelly kid. I know. Everybody was nice to me.
What was the bathroom
Yeah,
setup
so let's
like
talk
when you
about
did that?
what is the groover
groover.
and peeing in the river and what is that? People are scared about it and
Well,
maybe
my
not.
my
with
insider
no need.
tip.
Yeah,
Insider tip here is be the first one to the groover,
that's a good tip.
especially if you,
Push
Older people out of
especially
the way.
if you're
Out of
yeah,
the way.
especially if you're a gentleman. Be the first one to the groover because stuff builds up and
Yeah.
there's only so much space before it cannot
was
go
it
anymore.
comfortable? Was it like were you weirded out by it? Did you feel after the first couple of nights? Did you feel okay about it? Was it like was it the worst part of your trip, or was it just something that like you get used to?
You get used to it. I was never weirded out by it. Aside from like one really fancy bathroom I was at once where they had carpet in the bathroom. It was the best view I've ever had when doing,
Yes.
it's like you're there to take care of business, but you look up and it's like canyon walls
Mhm.
and the river's going by, and you're like, "Oh, wow, this is not normal."
It's
Like,
the best view. We'll go in number 2.
It's the best view you'll ever have. And honestly, like, the guides were they weren't over the top about it, but they were so, like, this is life, and it happens, and everybody poops, and, if you need more toilet paper, we'll bring it. If you need more of this, like, they've gone through every step. There's a system so that you don't risk anyone walking in on you. Like, they have the system set up to make you feel as comfortable as you will allow yourself to be. So, yes, it's different, but, the worst I ever heard was just somebody being like, "Oh, I got a groover." It's like, it's a joke, if anything. Nobody was negative about it. Nobody hated it. It became
It's no big
normal.
deal.
Yeah.
No big deal.
And impressive that they, once again, we would all do our stuff and be like, "Oh, glad I don't have to go there again." And then our guides, all 4 of them, would walk there and close it up and carry it out. And you're like, man.
It's a really good guide bonding moment when you do that.
Yeah.
Together. Really one of the highlights.
I mean, it's just another example, though, of like your guides do all the heavy lifting to the point that you feel guilty. And a lot of us would do dishes at night because we just wanted to help, because the guides do so much for you as the guest. They do so much for you. I mean, it's basically glamping.
Don't we don't like to say that.
It's not glamping. It's not glamping. It's very humbly comfortable camping.
Yeah. But you're still participating, right? I mean, you're unloading the boats and you're doing all that sort of stuff too.
Which is cool
Yeah.
too. We unload and load up the boats every night and morning as a community of campers, and there were some older people who would usually bow out, and nobody was mad. And some of the bigger, tall guys would go right up to the front and grab the stuff. But even there were little old ladies there who would take their turn and grab stuff, and it's appreciated when you know that everybody's stepping up to help, and you don't feel like you're the only one helping. And that probably goes back to this thing of, if you are there, you want to be there. You weren't dragged there. You aren't, forced to be in this place you don't want to be, and therefore you don't want to help. Like, everybody there was in it to win it and make it a good experience. So, which is rare. I mean, almost to the point that I was looking around, I was like, "Who's going to be the bad apple?" Because usually there's one person. I know. Well, like I said, the smelly thing. It took me a few days. So.
All right. Any other questions, comments, anything
That's
else?
good. I mean, if people watch
Yeah.
this, they will be prepared.
Yeah. This is the real insider tip here.
Right?
Bring baby wipes or moist towelettes.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, if you don't want to bathe or don't have the opportunity, that was helpful. And also just to get the sunscreen and sweat off your face at the end of the day, that would be the first thing I did when I got to camp, was take a baby wipe and just clean my face.
Mhm.
Just then throw that in the trash and don't fill up the groover.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. Those don't go in the groover.
Andy, the favorite thing that you said was, so we get some people who worry about like, I can't go on a 4-day camping trip. That's too long. I've never been camping before. I can't do a 7-day trip. You guys were on an 8-day trip, which is one of our longer motorized trips, and we often get a lot of people who don't feel like they can do that. They're worried that's too long. And the first thing that you said was, I didn't want it to end.
Yeah, I wanted more days.
He's never camped before.
Wow.
I remember.
Never.
Really?
Like never.
I-
Actually, some of the older people called him City Kid.
And so how did you feel? Was 8 days like a good amount of time to be
Yeah.
down there? You would have stayed longer if you could have.
I remember thinking, going into this trip, and even the first day, like, oh my gosh. Even the first night we were sitting in camp, like, 7 more nights? I don't know if I can do this. And then, I don't know. By the time you get to the end of the trip, you're like, I want more. You know, this wasn't enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the way this is set up with the guides and what you're provided with. It's very manageable and comfortable for anyone, regardless of their camping experience level. You're gonna want more days, no matter how the length of the trip you choose. You'll always want more.
We got a question from Scott Warren, and we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but what was your favorite meal? Or maybe Andy can answer this one. What was?
Yeah, you answer that.
What was your
my
favorite
meal? Was the almond Snicker bars that are stashed.
No offense to the guys cooking. But,
No, but I would have to break it apart because I think I have a favorite entree and then I have a favorite dessert.
Yeah,
And I
so
have
like
favorite
favorite
appetizer.
breakfast, and so okay, what was it?
Okay.
Starting with breakfast.
Okay, the bacon and pancakes, which we were served twice on our trip, was my favorite breakfast. For lunch one day, somehow miraculously they whip up a taco salad, which was probably my favorite lunch. And then for dinner, my favorite appetizer was, they have pita chips that are just like,
Oh, they're good.
I don't know, they're,
When you mix them with the Gouda.
yeah, they were like
Yeah.
crap.
They had
I don't know
Gouda
if I should say
cheese
that.
on the final night and smoked salmon with cream cheese, like basically bagel and lox.
Yeah, and then I really liked the pork chop. I think that might have been my favorite.
Yeah.
But we also had, I don't know, steak, lasagna, salmon, chicken. But the pork chop was my favorite. And then several nights they did a Dutch oven and baked things. But one night there was a chocolate cake, and that was my favorite.
A Dutch oven.
Yeah.
Chocolate cake, yeah.
Yep.
So made from scratch.
Well, we should add too that they were really respectful without being, without like pointing it out of people's dietary needs. Andy doesn't eat fish. He just said, "Hey," they made him a chicken. Some other ladies didn't want to eat red meat, and they had informed them ahead of time, and they made them veggie burgers or a different chicken dish. And so they were all. It was you never felt like the weird vegetarian kid or anything. Like it was always just presented as another option.
And there were plenty of snacks. You guys were.
Too many
Did okay
snacks.
with
There were
the
two.
snacks.
Our guide
You-
read some
you will
poem.
gain
Yeah.
weight
Oh my
on
gosh.
this trip.
Yeah. I don't want to look at the scale. Yeah. But you didn't feel guilty because, as Brock, our guide, said, you're here on vacation. Enjoy it. But the snacks are for you to eat. Like, don't feel bad. So.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank
There's
you
no more
guys.
questions.
No more questions.
Yeah.
Thank you guys that asked questions. Those
Yeah.
are great. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
And
one more.
stay tuned because through one of my media partners, we're going to take all the footage, and everybody was offering their footage and make one like epic Micah's experience with Grand Canyon Whitewater video. So stay tuned for
Super
that
cool.
to get like the 3 to 4 minute overview of everything. So.
And make sure to follow Micah. Here's his website. There it is.
Micah, where are you heading next?
Yeah, and where are you going next?
We're driving to Cedar City tonight because we're going to Great Basin National Park tomorrow,
Wow.
which is like 7 hours drive away. So.
The fun continues. And
Yeah.
what's your like Twitter handle or Instagram or how can
Everything
people-
is
just
TBC
go there.
Micah, Travel Beyond Convention Micah.
Cool.
Type it in, or Mikah Meyer Travel Beyond Convention on Facebook
Mhm.
should be tagged, I think, in this right
Mhm.
now. So if you want more, if you want all of our GCW Grand Canyon Experience photos and videos, they'll be coming down the pipeline.
All right, so you'll be posting that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
In the next
Yeah.
few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'm Dean, Grand Canyon Whitewater. Good to see you guys.
Sign up
Thanks
now. What are
for
you waiting for? Next year's things
doing
are already
this.
filling up.
All right. See ya. Bye.